Hello there, Bick Benedict here. We're playing God of War 1 on God difficulty, and this is my guide and walkthrough. We're currently on part 34, the Bluffs of Madness. So the first fight, and you can choose which way you want to go. You can go up the ladder from the starting point by the save point, or you can come down here. Now, when you get locked in this room, because when you come into this room, you might notice that there are barriers that come up on the right side of the room and the left side. So I think this is as close as God of War 1 comes to having an endurance fight. There is just an absolute ton of the armored legionnaires, and with them there is a satyr. After you kill the satyr, another one will spawn, and then after you kill the second one, a third one will spawn. So the reason that I'm standing... Oh, and this is a great spot. You see where the fallen pieces of the bridge are? As long as you stay on that, that is a completely safe place to stand. Occasionally, if you aggro the enemies and you tempt them to come on a little closer to you, they will come up here, and you'll see it from time to time. They will... not do anything but just mill around the front part of it, and at that point they're completely yours to do what you want with them. I'm gonna try to use them for collision and get collision damage onto the satyr. The reason why I'm not grabbing them or anything like that is because this is a very safe method, and also for some reason these legionnaires they die really easy for some reason. And I don't mean like they just they're weak or anything like that. I'm just saying that it's very difficult when you're using heavy attacks to put them to the point where they get the circle button prompt, because it's so easy to go beyond that and kill them and not have the enemy to throw. So what I do is I use light attacks. I use L1 plus X to launch them, and then X in the air to do the aerial attack. That one there. Occasionally you'll just see me use L1 plus triangle, and you may say that, well, Bick, you just said you wanted to use light attacks, triangle is heavy. Well, this move is not particularly lethal or anything like that, but this is a great spot. I would definitely take advantage of it. Now you might say, well, you're kind of cheating because you're on an area where the enemies won't come and you can manipulate them. Well, I would say that that's a valid thing to say. However, I am trying to do this no damage, and this is a no damage fight, and so I don't really mind that I'm on a safe spot, because it still takes a lot of awareness and reflexes to not get hit. Now from the looks of things, we have all of the legionnaires taken care of. See the barrier to the left? You can't leave until this floor is cleared. Now, do you see the ramp going up? There is another section up there that I always used to think was part of this fight, and it can be if you want to. But the only thing that you have to do to clear on out of here is to just contain this floor. Just kill everything on this floor. The barriers will lift, and then you can save your progress and come back and do the fight that is upstairs. And there aren't that many enemies up there. In fact, you might have just seen one up there. Did you see him when I was launching the satyr? Yeah, that's what that is. So don't there, see that up there? Don't think that you have to do both floors for this to be completed. Now, yes, this is a no damage fight, and I'm going to be extremely careful. I am not going to try to bounce this guy, because every time I try to bounce him, I get retaliated against at the worst times. So what I'm going to try to do is, after he attacks, I'm sorry, I'm kind of thirsty. After he attacks, press L1 plus X to launch, and then grab him in the air. In God of War 1, you can't use square attacks in the air to hit him, because they don't connect. You can feel free to press square in the air, like right now, but the thing you want to do is the aerial throw, and then you want to spirit whore from range, because that move is very damaging. And also be very careful that you've spaced yourself out enough from him so that you don't fall into one of his attacks. That's the problem. So yes, satyr. I promised I'd look that word up, and a satyr is, according to the internet, one of the forest gods in Greek mythology, who has faces and bodies like men and ears, legs, and tails like goats. So some of the other definitions define it as a lecherous man. So this is a man. And it's also, satyr is somebody who is one who has satyriasis, which is an excessive or abnormal sexual craving in the male. So I'm not really sure why they chose to kind of sexualize this character and call him a satyr. And it's like a woman who's a nymphomaniac. The opposite of that is a satyr. Someone who has that abnormal and excessive craving for sex. But I'm not sure why that is. I really don't know. But that's the backstory on these enemies. And I've got to tell you, I thought about getting a turbo controller again just for these fights, but you sacrifice the precision and quality, craftsmanship of the actual regular control for a generic control that probably doesn't feel good and probably isn't as precise as this control. So the excessive tapping of the circle button, I've said it for years. These sessions, the veins in my wrist on my right hand hurt. My hand hurts right now because I just did this fight, and it feels like it's going numb, and it feels incredibly weak. Also, when he does a fierce barrage of heavy attacks like that, be very careful, because he tends to block when you try to launch him after he does those attacks where his weapon glows a dark purple color. Just be very careful. I mean, this is like fucking break your thumb time. It is really bad. I have got, look at that whiff. I have had a turbo controller in the past, and they're wonderful because it does everything for you. I mean, I think the PlayStation 4 controller should have some sort of turbo functionality, but I mean, what were you thinking about putting that much of a demand on the player? And I was thinking to myself, well, maybe it's because they really want you to get in there and kind of feel like you're really fighting, and tapping that circle button so ferociously, like you're gonna break your fucking thumb. I've almost broken my thumb a couple times trying to do that fucking quick time event. It's ridiculous, And then when I break it, who do I go to? Who do I go to pay my medical bills if something happened? I think my right hand is the one that I have the carpal tunnel syndrome in it. One of my hands has it. I just forgot which one it is. That is a beautiful setup, though. The way he stands on his staff, and it's like, oh, here's a free opportunity to hit him, and then when you go up to grab him, he retaliates. So I've got to give it to the developers. That's a wonderful piece of a gameplay mechanic. But I'm just going to be exceptionally careful over here because I don't want to take damage. How long did this take to do no damage? About 2 hours. 2 hours. So, part 34, the Bluffs. And before we came in here, I mentioned that this is as close as God of War comes to an endurance fight. It really is, because I can't think of any other fights. There is a fight in Hades where there's a ton of the Hades satyrs, but we're going to be wringing those enemies out. And an endurance fight for me is a fight that forces your stamina to an uncomfortable degree and pushes you to the absolute limits of what you're capable of. And I think this room would be a good idea. But for that nice safety spot up there, it's just too perfect. And he has nothing that he can do that goes through your guard. Also, if you fail the quick time event, oh, that's so satisfying. If you fail the quick time event, you don't receive any damage, which I thought was pretty kind of the game. Okay, now I went back and saved it. And now we're going to go up here and dispatch the armored legionnaires up here before we move on, and then you can save your progress. I have upgraded the army of Hades to level 2. I've got the lightning magic up to level 3. I've got the firebolts up to level 2. Blades are at max, obviously. My sword is at level 1. And I hope people don't get disappointed with me not using the sword. I don't care for it. I don't like it. You can't parry with it. I don't know. The blades are just too great. I mean, I love the fact that it's ranged combat. Oh, also, when I was done with this fight, I thought it was all over. I jumped down, and then I heard more enemies growling. And then I left the room, and then as I was leaving, I heard these grunts and groans. And that always reminds me, that's more enemies. So I went back in here and I had a couple left. So I got another checkpoint as well, too. So, I'm all good on that score. Okay, so it was around this time that everything was kind of winding down, and then I left. So the bluff. Okay, see, I didn't see any more enemies anywhere. You might have to go to a certain area of the map up there. Anyway, that's linked footage right there. So just remember that. So I'm gonna go back up here and kill the remaining legionnaires. This game is just so good, so uncompromising. It works so well, it really does, and it's just a shame that the launch doesn't work. Yeah, okay, now we should have everything cleared. Now you might say, well, look at your health. You're getting all this good shit for yourself in. You're getting a lot of magic and health. You could do whatever you want with that. You could absorb a lot of damage. Well, I've tried to do all these fights no damage, and the majority of them have been no damage. So you can't fault me on that one, because I have not even used the health in the health bar. But I don't want to toot or wind my horn any more than I have to. I'm just trying to lay some facts bare for you as we come to the close of the 34th video, and as we then segue into the next video, the 35th video, which should be, if I'm not mistaken, the Traps of Madness. So, for Big Benedict Productions, I would like you to please take care, if you could, and I will see you in the next video.